The Born to Win podcast highlights individuals excelling at high levels in their purpose and calling. This podcast is for anyone looking to get ahead in life and willing to take action and reach their full potential. Using Champ's male mentoring model of the 3 E's, education, empowerment, and exposure, it means you too are born to win.
I'm born to win. Live. The Jets from Chicago be screaming all that. You are now tuned in to the Born to Win podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to another Born to Win podcast. Remember, you are born to win in every situation in life. And so I'm super excited for our next Born to Win podcast guest. And remember this, we decided to pivot during this time of pandemic, but we've been dealing with an epidemic for hundreds of years. And so there's a lot that's been happening in the world. And we need for everyone, young person, wherever you are, I need for you to tune in, share it with someone, take some notes, learn something, apply it to your life, become the version 2.0 of yourself. So all of the things that we have talked about is actually about to become real, because I have Mr. Craig Hodges, one of my all-time favorite Chicago Bulls players, right here from our native land in Chicago.
He loves that corner right there. He's going to make 4 out of 5. Maybe 5.
You and he had something going here.
He loves
maybe
that corner.
5 for 5.
He loves
yes,
it.
come on.
Craig, make me look good here. Huh?
That's right.
Well, my guy Danny Ainge is already on the hardwood. Well, there's 7 in a row for Hodges.
How about the rotation?
There's 8.
Equal or what?
There's 9. Craig will sit down now. Who's the final? Put on the show, Craig.
Fans have been waiting for this.
12 in a row. 13. Unbelievable. Hasn't missed yet. A total of 30 points is possible. Look at this. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. First miss. Remember, 25 is the record for a round. Looks like Hodges may break that. He needs one more. Unbelievable. That was tremendous shooting.
Won 3 straight 3-point shootouts, man, lights out. But more importantly, the game did not speak to him. He spoke to the game. He was bigger than just dribbling the basketball. He's an activist, a community leader. But more importantly, he's one of our very own Chicagoans. So I want everybody to give a Born to Win welcome to the legend, Chicago Bull, Craig Hodges. Welcome to the Born to Win podcast, sir.
Brother, first of all, I want to thank God for getting a chance to wake up this morning and, be thankful for another day. And hopefully everyone is well during this period of time. You're studying and getting healthy and mentally ready to go out here and change the whole new paradigm that's about to happen.
Absolutely. So if you can just for the viewing audience, a lot of people may not know exactly who you are, your story. So if you can just walk us through who you are and tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, born in Chicago Heights, Illinois, June 27, 1960. My mom was part of the civil rights movement. My family was educators and hard workers. So my uncles taught me sport. My granddad taught me sports. But my aunts and my sister taught me how to read before I even went to school. So I was blessed to have my soul come down in the Hodges household and be able to have lessons that, gave me a great support base, man, where, I was blessed to be able to challenge things. And if I didn't reach the level that I thought, I had someone to help me get to that level. So it's one of those things, man. And I was blessed to have Tex Winter, who was at Northwestern when I was coming through Ritchie's High School in Park Forest. He recruited me to go to Northwestern when I was a sophomore. And after my senior year, during my senior year, in fact, he got the job at Long Beach State and he recruited me to come to California. And I always wanted to go to school somewhere where it was warm. I grew up watching UCLA win back-to-back championships. And I saw them come out after games in shorts and T-shirts. And I said, yeah, I think I want to go out there, man. And when I got the chance, man, to get to Long Beach, I was blessed to study under Dr. Maulana Karinga, who was my first Black Studies professor, who's the founder of Kwanzaa. I was blessed to study under Dr. Khalid Muhammad, who's who passed away and was a great mentor and friend of mine. So I was blessed, man, to have, great support base in both from the student end and from the athletic end, and great coaching and great teaching.
Man, what a wonderful story. So when did you discover that you had a talent in playing basketball? Was that something that you kind of picked up over time, or did you notice that you were a little bit more athletic?
My Uncle Bruce, Lord rest his soul, he was the number one junior college scorer in like 63, 64. So he taught me how to play the game, and he taught me, how to go about it, how to go about doing it in a way that's going to be conducive to your growth. So from that standpoint, it was one of those things for me that it was just a matter of hard work, a matter of discipline, and knowing what you were supposed to do. And as far as books came first, and then athleticism came second.
Okay, so a family member that you admired.
Once again, it was baseball was my first love. Baseball was put to me early, as many of us were during the 60s, that baseball was really the mainstay. And as far as the NBA wasn't as prevalent as Major League Baseball. And my granddad was one of those guys who had watched the Negro League and taught me a lot about that history. And he thought that baseball was the quickest way to the big show. So he gave me a catcher's mitt and all the protector's gear. So I was a catcher from the time I was 6 until I was 14. And I thought that was going to be my sport, but it was just too slow, man. And it was too hot in the summers. So
no question.
You know what I'm saying? So it was one of those things where basketball was the thing for me that was interactive. And I like to talk, man. And in basketball, you have to be communicative in order to make the game work for you.
And so for those of us who really are Bulls fans, he threw out a name a little bit earlier, Tex Winters. And so how instrumental was Tex Winters from just kind of knowing him in your college day career to your professional career? What was he like? Well,
for me, it was that angelic being, man. He was the brother that came to me at that point in my life when, you're a young brother, you don't know everything, but you think you're capable of doing and excelling. And Tex is one that walked me through the process of not only my jump shot, and I literally shot one of the flattest shots ever in high school, and I shot 56% from the floor my senior year. But when I got to Long Beach, he taught me the art of shooting, why my ball went in the basket as much as it did, and how I could make it go in even more. And, the discipline of studying, not only, his thing was you have to pass first in the classroom, then on the court. So for me, it was the essence of those little nuggets of wisdom that we would have every day before practice. And those, they stick with you, man. And they, one of the ones I always recall is mediocrity to the mediocre is excellence. So
that's
little
deep.
Stuff like that, man, is things that he taught us. And he was a right dude, man. He was fair. And, when I think about just my Black studies, a good friend of mine, Ron Settles, was murdered in June of 1981 prior to our senior year. And Tex was really, really cool about me missing practice to go protest. And he would tell me, that's more important. And to the point where sometimes he would just say, we're not going to have practice. And it was really cool for the way that he understood the importance of allowing me to be able to grow academically. And even though I was on a scholarship, that scholarship didn't prevail over what my principles were. And he would also ask other players, why aren't you doing what Craig is doing? Which was eye-opening to me, when in fact he was just a person who saw and lived through Jim Crow. So he was one of those people who understood, that you could only bring in so many players at a point in time, and he would talk about it. So the history of it from that standpoint, man, I was blessed, brother.
And that's so powerful. So what we do in our mentoring program, we are privileged and honored to redirect and help guide young men in the inner city of Chicago. And a lot of them, they tell me their father's story. And it's usually, I don't know my father. He's locked up or dead, right? So you kind of are talking about like a mentor beyond just coaching.
And see, so many times, those mentors can come from places you would never imagine, man. And that's why you have to be, especially in the climate where we are today with social media, the cultural partnerships are much greater, and the opportunities are much greater for those partnerships because of social media. So for young brothers and sisters who are in an environment that is not seen from the outside as being conducive to your growth, don't take it like that. Realize that your potential is your potential, and what you want to define that to be is on you. You don't have to. You don't have to cow down to the models that are given in front of you as success. You define that, and you define it from what you have a passion about. And I feel like this quarantine situation has given a lot of people a chance to find their passion. And now I think more than any other time, especially from the white side of things, they've had to take a hard look at themselves and over the history of not only what their ancestors did, but the white privilege that they have from that. So, one thing with this young generation that they need to know is that we're at the point of deliverance and deliverance of divine inheritance on so many levels. So don't shortchange yourself. Don't get caught up. If you see something going down, and that's the part of this life, man. We have and I don't call it a sixth sense, but we have a God intuition that we have a sense about things, especially growing up the way we grow up in the areas that we grow up in. We have to grow up with a defense mechanism where your antenna goes up and tell you, you know what, I ain't gonna go that way. I'm gonna go over here and chill the other way. And we have to start to be more still and mindful when we're making those decisions that are life existence.
Yeah, and I truly believe individuals like you, who when I was growing up in Chicago, huge Chicago Bulls fan, but watching you guys, and I had a chance to, during that same All-Star weekend when we were talking in the hotel lobby, catch up with Cliff Levingston. And and then he kind of took a liking. It's like, hey, man, take my cell phone number. I want to connect you in on the community side. But like you guys were an integral part of actually stopping violence in Chicago when y'all played. And I had the privilege of sharing this story with some Nike and Jordan brand executives about just how I felt like Nike and Jordan wasn't doing enough for our community. And I said, y'all have to realize that when the Bulls were playing, they were so popular at that time that for those 2.5, 3 hours, it wasn't a whole bunch of violence or gang banging going on during that time. So, but then you took it, I believe, a step further when you began to become a voice for social issues. I remember being so excited about the Bulls playing the Lakers. You guys were going to the NBA championship, man. And it was just something that came over the city that we already kind of had a certain swag about us anyway. But then y'all were an extension of who we were in the city. Yeah. And I remember hearing a story about Craig Hodges having a conversation or a meeting or something with Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson saying, okay, we got a platform. We need to speak out on these issues. Can you just describe that? It was a while ago, and I'm trying to recollect the conversation, but I do remember it happening.
Right. And during that period of time, one of the things that was going on is that we were trying to lobby for Black ownership, Black management, upper executive positions and the like. And I felt like, 21 of 24 athletes in the championship was us. And that the only time that we can truly make changes is during All-Star weekend and during the finals, because that's when they make the most money. And I felt like if we boycotted, if we said we were going to have a work stoppage, changes wouldn't be made immediately. They're not going to allow 1 billion people not to watch us play. And the same thing goes now, that the impact that athletes and entertainers have. And I was speaking to someone, I think I was talking to my son a couple of weeks ago, and I said, watch, the first thing that has to come back is professional basketball, because the Black athlete means so much to the cultural fabric of America on an economic level and a model level and an image level, that you cannot come back from this pandemic, quarantine / economic implosion, unemployment at almost 40 million people and the like, that is something that has to happen. That's why I tell people, the impact of Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey, and those types have been a manipulator for Black people on so many levels. So when you look at during this pandemic, you come out with Last Dance. Right off the heels of that, Michael was selling his gym shoe down in Atlanta in the height of the pandemic. I don't get that. I don't get how we can be callous to the fact of people and not realize the impact that we carry. And we realize the impact we carry from an economic standpoint to our own pockets, but oftentimes we don't realize the impact it carries on a larger scale. When I think in terms of how many times we've heard of people standing in line, getting a pair of gym shoes, and then getting murdered over a gym shoe or a starter jacket. And I felt like we didn't utilize the platform we had in 1991 as champions to be champions like Muhammad Ali, to be champions that really, as opposed to partying, but after we won, let's return the favors to the city that celebrated us and helped us get that energy that was necessary to win. So, and I still feel bad to this day that we missed truly a golden opportunity. But at the same time, I think wisdom prevails, and that's why we're here today, to be able to talk about what we're doing, brother.
Yeah, and you know what I think what's powerful again is what I knew then. It seemed like, to me, this is just my personal opinion, you were way ahead of your time. And now, if you notice the world, these issues are resurfacing again.
Right.
And these conversations are being brought to the front, but they were already happening back then.
No question about
And,
it. It says, it teaches us, history teaches us, those who don't study it are doomed to repeat it. If we don't learn the lessons from it, and the lessons from it is that America hasn't truly looked into her faults, the faults of her enslavement of Native American people, her actually, taking the land of Native American people. And then when we look at this current pandemic and the effect that it has on Black people, and then we think back to the Tuskegee experiment of Black men. And, so we have to be mindful of the history of America and the history of our existence under the flag, as well as the power that we have. So one of the things that I see now, especially with this NBA trying to do what they're trying to do, and as far as bring back the league, we need to sit down. We don't need to be playing right now. We don't need to. It's not a time to play. It's a time to think. It's a time to mend. It's a time for solution-based. And we need everybody at the crib. And at the crib, I mean in our communities, not in somebody else's arena who is just utilizing you for economics for their side of the fence and not ours.
Thank you so much. So a lot of young men watch this podcast, and the reason why I have on the cap and it's more urban is because this is who it's directed towards. So if you could speak to the young men and give them some insight, strategies, or tips on how they should be empowering themselves during this time, and not just on video games all day and just letting the routines just totally go away. What kind of advice can you give some young brothers?
For instance, man, okay, you got 10 brothers. All 10 of them brothers have a pair of gym shoes right now that's cool. Let's them 10 brothers get together and go get another 10 brothers, and we ain't gonna buy no shoes for the next 120 days. And let's see how much money we can drum up with every 10 people that we get together. Now we got a group of 100, as opposed to us spending that money on something else. Let us now pool our resources together, and now we might be able to go get you can go to Park Forest and you can get a house for $20,000. Get together, brothers, and now you can rent that house out. Get another house, and now get together and start an investment group that, as opposed to us doing whatever it is we're doing, let's cut that in half. Let's cut the partying in half and put that money to the side. And then once we get the victory, we can have a victory party where I'm telling my people right now, and young brothers especially, that you're free now. You're free. You're free. We haven't been free man, forever, honestly, in our consciousness. But right now, we're at that point, 1619, August 1st is when we got here, based on the congressional record. We actually arrived in 1555, based on our history. But realizing that now, in August of 2019, we're free. So now, how do we move in freedom? We've never had it before. So what we're doing is we're creating a whole new paradigm. So part of this whole collapsing of, you watching the collapse of their civilization, you're watching the collapse of an empire. The Western Empire has maimed and killed and enslaved all over the planet, installed their own governments by destabilizing economies of African nations, putting in puppet African dictators who have just decimated the mineral resources of Africa and the Caribbean. And, when you think about Haiti and Venezuela and what the Clinton Foundation was able to do in Haiti. So we have resources, brothers. And now my thing to y'all is that you got to study, man. You got to study. You have to study. You got to become a critical thinker. You got to become a critical thinker so that you know why your life matters. Just can't be on this thing, Black Lives Matter. Why do we matter? When in fact, Black is matter. You know what I'm saying? Everything comes out of the Black. It's the Black matter that started this whole thing. So when you consider you are the most powerful being on the planet, why are you picking up a weapon to defend yourself when all you have to do is ask for the wind to blow and to handle it? You know what I'm saying? So we have to pick up and get back in line with the power of who we are and who put us here in the beginning, and that you are a connection to that original. So it was you that built pyramid. It was you that was able to go across the seas and do the miraculous things that we were able to do historically. But we've been miseducated for the last 400 years, and now that cutoff period, now we're remembering, we're retying back to that ancient spirit, and the ancient ones are back, man. So this ancient history is now coming about, and people are saying, oh man, we've had this before. Yeah, we've had killings before, but we haven't had the magnitude of a collective consciousness that we have now across the planet.
That's so powerful. And young man, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, I need for you to share this with another young man, because he says something that was so powerful. We can use collective energy and unity, right, to bring our own economic empowerment where the dollar stays here.
It's so simple, man. It really is. It's so simple to the point where if we stop and look at it, it's already put in place for us, okay? You've already put us in project housing. So we're here as a collective. You already put us in these communities where it's all of us. The only outsiders are those that we do business with, whether it be Arab, whether it be Indians or whatever. Now, we have to go to these. I'm right now at my son's crib over in Cal City, and down the street, go to the store, Arab running business. But now we got to communicate with them on where did you come from? And I'm going down there today to holler at him on that end, because I'm looking at my people come in here. I'm watching how you're insulting young sisters at the same time where you throwing sexual innuendos at my sisterhood. They not understanding they playing the game for whatever reason they playing the game, because we playing games today. We're not critical thinkers. And now when we go into these stores and we do business with these stores, young brothers, y'all got to start asking these people. And I ain't saying no violent way. We asking these people, okay, I got it's a park down the street. I want to put together a basketball and baseball program for the young brothers and sisters who want to do that. Y'all got to support it, and y'all have to sponsor it. And we got to start to, if y'all not going to sponsor it, I'm not going to buy no more bubble gum. I'm not buying no more Skittles. I ain't buying no more garbage that we don't need to be eating anyway, but I'm not coming in here no more. And then me and you, brother, we have to come to the storefront right next to it and provide a viable alternative. And we're capable of doing that. It ain't nothing but us. It's nothing but us pulling away from the economics that we've been playing with for 90 days. And we'll see a difference. We'll be able, them same young brothers be able to open up their own convenience store and give out vital information to the community and be able to be a meeting place to have critical thought and hand out critical thought. It's places like that all over Chicago where we can do that. And that's the type of things that we have to do. That's how we have to organize. We have to organize. So them young brothers, organize yourselves. Don't just mobilize. See, all we're doing now is just mobilizing, protesting, demonstrating. But what is coming out of the organizational part of it? You know, when we talk the history of our leadership, Dr. King was an incredible mobilizer, but Malcolm was an incredible organizer. So every place that Malcolm went, he left a temple behind. When Dr. King left, he left a lot of emotional energy and nowhere to really carry it to. So we have to build like that. We have to build solid brick and mortar places that are in our communities, that we're able to utilize as safe haven, that we're able to know that when a young boy or young girl is in here doing their homework, ain't no garbage gonna go on. They're gonna be able to be in safety. And that's, you know, that's how we grew up in the 60s, man. I didn't have to worry about anything, really. You know, we had a great childhood. We didn't know we was poor, but it was cool. You know what I'm saying? We were rich in spirit and rich in community, faith in one another. And I think that's the part that we oftentimes are disconnected from, is that unity and love that we have. But I tell people the music has so much to do with it too, man. Listening to Marvin and Stevie compared to listening to some of the stuff we have now that's totally destructive to the mind and to the body.
Yes. One of the things I kept thinking about, and I just had a flashback of you shooting all of these threes and making them on the largest stage in the world. And I always wanted to ask you, for all of these years, what was the mental going into that you carry with you, man?
This is the biggest part, man, is that, you know, you trained, and I've trained, and I've trained, and I've trained. And I've lost, and I've lost, and I've lost. Larry Bird waxed me 3 straight times and talked garbage about it every time he did it. It was cool because that's part of his persona. But at the same time, the whole time I knew I could win it. I knew that, you know, and you know what's so funny is that you have the elders in the game, and Curly Neal, God bless his soul, he was I met him when I was a sophomore at Long Beach State, and he was one of my heroes from the Globetrotters. So when I met him, every time I would see Curly, he was my boy. So I was in 3-point contest. I think Jim Les had me beat almost. And I saw Curly after the thing, and he said, yeah, man, you know, he should have beat you, huh? I was like, yeah, man, he had me. He had 10 shots. All he had to do was make 5 out of 10. He made 4, right? Curly's like, yeah. After he made the 3rd one, every time he shot, I blew it off the way.
Wow.
I said, and then this is what he told me. He said, do you know when you have the ball in your hand and you're in a 20,000 seat arena, all eyes on you? He said, when people wanted me to make a hook from half court, everybody in the building wanted me to make it. So it went in. It wasn't me. He said, this thing is spirit. He said, it's spirit field. So when you shooting them from deep, but if you get out of the way and allow it to happen, you'd be surprised. So that night that I made 19 in a row, Cliff Levingston, who you just talked about, that was my boy and still is my boy. And then during that time, he was my main hype man.
Yes.
His job was he was going to psych everybody else out that was in the competition by telling them how Hodges the one. So, you know, and it was funny, the night before I'm reading the Quran, and during that period of time, I'm reading Quran, Bible, and studying. So the night before that competition, I read the Quran, and I open it up like I always do, just open up and see where it falls. And it said, good news to the faithful. That was the surah that I turned to. And I just started laughing because Cliff's nickname is Good News.
Oh, wow.
So when I saw it, I couldn't hardly sleep because I knew I was getting ready to win the next night. But I had to contain myself to know that it's always, when you go into a competition, is a chance to come up short. I don't say lose, come up short. So I had to stay in my game mindset. And that was the reason that I lost the previous ones. I went into it with the competition mindset that I'm shooting against somebody, as opposed to I'm shooting these jumpers that I'm getting out of the corner, off the wing, at the top, off the wing, out the corner. And I took it more like I'm playing against Detroit and I'm getting this, and all I got to do, I ain't got to guard Isaiah, I ain't got to chase Vinny, I ain't got to try to stay in front of Joe. All I got to do is shoot this thing tonight. And I've shot it. We've had times when we go through a rhythm and we might, like when I was in college, I would put on Stevie Wonder and I would shoot and not miss for 4 or 5 songs. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good 20 minutes without missing a beat. So in that competition, I was able to get out of my way mentally and allow my body to do what was required on the physical plane at that moment, and not get in the way by, I got to make this. The only thing, man, literally, brother, I made 19 shots in a row, and I literally heard the ball go through the net on every single shot, and it was 20,000 people. So I was literally, now when I missed on the 20th one, it's so funny, I tell people, it was like I was in the gym shooting by myself, and all of a sudden you open up the gym and and it shocked me back into the reality of where I was. You know what I'm saying? Because my mind was really, when the 20th one, when I shot it, I had like 12 seconds after I made the 19th one. I had 12 seconds to shoot 6 balls. I know that's plenty of time, because I can shoot 6 balls in 6 seconds, 7 seconds at the most. So I knew I had time. So the 20th one felt better than all the other ones. So that was the only one that I started to move on, as opposed to holding until it actually went through the net. And when it came off, I was like, whoa, how did that? Anyway, let's go. So it's being able to train yourself. You're training yourself, but at the same time, when it happens, you have to allow what you've been doing to take over. And sometimes it's not you.
Yeah, and did it feel almost surreal? Like,
brother,
this is you, but this is not you.
Yeah, and like when I look at it, even when I look at it today, I'm so heated when I missed, because I know I'd have made 19, 6 more ain't nothing. I told Cliff before I went out there, I was like, man, I'm getting ready to run the rack. And to actually get there, but then again, I understand this though, brothers, that the most holy number in mathematics is 19.
Isn't that something? That's deep. That's deep.
So when it happened and I look back at it, I'll say, now I know why I didn't make 20. So it's it's a lot of things. It's a lot of esoteric stuff, man. It's a lot of stuff that's metaphysic in our lives that connects us. We all connected. And that's why white people are starting to see how disconnected they were to the original people of the earth. And now they're trying to figure out how to apologize.
Yes.
And they know that saying sorry ain't nowhere near enough. And that all the nations combined in the United Nations cannot repay for the suffering of our ancestors all the way to today. And that being the case, all we have to do is stand up and be on right action.
Yes.
And right action doesn't require us doing anybody any harm. And
yes.
We ourselves.
And that's so powerful. I'm glad you brought this up, is because, when we think about just the historical context, I went to college in Oklahoma. So I learned about Tulsa Black Wall Street because I went to college in Tulsa in the 90s. And I didn't know prior to that. So one of my friends who's North Tulsa got on the elevator. We were going up to our dorm room, and he just had this mean look on his face, and he was offended and upset. And I said, man, Marquay, what's wrong with you? He said, man, another guy that's not our color offended me in a business class. I said, what did he do to offend you? Because Marquay always used to be smiling on campus, waving, real happy guy. And he said, he told me to get over it. The Tulsa Black Wall Street don't matter anymore. And I can't get over it because I'm from Tulsa. My family was part. And I said, I don't mean to offend you, my brother. And I said, I ain't never heard of it myself. I don't even know what it is. He said, man, let me put you on some game. And the internet had just came out. He said, man, just go and type in Tulsa Black Wall Street and
Yeah,
you will
yep.
see. I typed it in, man. This is 1998. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that we missed some history lessons along the way in our educational. And I'm an assistant principal of a school at the time. And I'm like, whoa, I'm learning of this history, this rich history of who we are. So I think the reparation part is starting to happen in forms. And I got a quick question to ask you on Michael Jordan. A few days ago, he released through his brand that he was going to give $100 million for 10 years. He released a statement before then, but I know you have some feelings, and we kind of talked about this offline a little bit about MJ, but let's talk MJ as a basketball player, but then let's talk MJ as an icon. Right. What is your take on Michael Jordan?
Man, incredible athlete, brother. Incredible. Perhaps the best that ever played. And I don't put that gold on anybody but Bill Russell, because he won more than anybody. MJ, man, incredible. That's simply put, on the basketball court. And I think his power off the court is probably as powerful, literally. That the magnitude and the length and breadth of it has been incredible for white economics. It's been a detriment to black economics, like, quite honestly. Had we been able to market MJ with us, no telling where the black economy would be. No telling what type of athletes would be able to invest in black America, in black Africa, in black Australia, in black Haiti. You know what I'm saying? That we could be international from a scope. And that's what I love about the trajectory that LeBron and where Kobe was headed. That they understood the international ramifications of things. Michael understands it also, but he's taking more of an approach just from my observation and critical thought of it, is that he's taking the approach that I'm gonna sit back and let it happen. I'm gonna use my visibility. I'm gonna allow corporate entities to use my name and likeness to the tune of $1 billion. And that's cool. That's the rugged capitalist system that he was miseducated under, and he chose that realm. Where we, on the other hand, understand miseducation for what it is, exploitation. And that exploitation anywhere is exploitation everywhere. So I cannot allow Nike to think that they're doing a good job and talk about, and I love Colin Kaepernick, but I don't like Nike. Still, I still have a problem with that. I have a problem with the number of deaths that you caused in the past, and you haven't given any funds to black women whose children have died to the violence that has been caused by the price of your gym shoes. So it's a lot of those type of issues I take issue at, because I love my people more than I love myself, and I have to. So from that standpoint, MJ has not been the brother that we needed him to be. Oprah hasn't been the sister we needed her to be, and I hope that going forward we can be more mindful, especially right now when we need to come home and hunker down with ourselves and then come out with a unified approach that, basketball beginning, nobody should play. You know what I'm saying? We shouldn't allow them to play. If they're talking about playing, man, we ain't gonna watch. Just like when we didn't watch when Colin Kaepernick took the knee. We ain't watching. We don't need to be playing right now. We don't need to be endorsing your products. We don't need to be buying your products. We need to be able to save our money within ourselves. We losing lives like crazy during this pandemic, and ain't nobody talking about it. We talking about, the knee on the neck for George Floyd. We got that. Y'all been killing us like that forever. But now you coming with this whole other, pandemic thing that's killing us on another level, but you don't want to discuss the history of your murder in black people in America, not only through police, but through governmental means, through lack of resources, through lack of education. Come on, man. The historic, this is not a civil rights issue. This is a human rights issue. This is a human rights issue that the American government doesn't want to face, because they know when it goes to the human rights thing, it's out of their hands.
Yes. Wow, I'm just enamored by your response, not just in light of the situation, but again, to me, and this is my personal opinion, I felt like you were way ahead of the time and people are catching up to what
But
you were saying 30
you know what's
years
so heavy,
ago.
brother? You know what's so
Mhm.
heavy about it is that this is the thing. When they killed our leadership, when they killed Fred Hampton and Mark Clark in the city, that shocked the generation from
Mhm.
wanting to do that. It shocked the generation of one and the parents who saw that, the parents who were in the movement that saw our leadership get killed, especially the women. They took a total different approach towards the next generation of baby. I don't want
Mhm.
that to happen to my baby. So
Mhm.
the liberation struggle went from brothers on the front line, whether it be Malcolm, Martin, Panthers, what have you, we all moving in the same direction towards liberation and oppression, but we're coming from different methodologies, but we're all fighting the same oppressor. You take the leadership out now, and now you give massive educational opportunities, and we take education as opposed to liberation, and now we're being educated and miseducated, and we're loving it because the
Mm.
miseducation is linked to jobs, supposedly, but in fact, it was the sacrifices of your ancestors that allowed you to get that, because only through them being murdered, they knew that it was going to be a whole new paradigm. And that's what they're entering now, is that those who are wise in this nation, who happen to be Anglo-Saxon, they realize that the impact of white supremacy racism
Mm.
historically is dead now.
Mm.
Everybody has seen the fallacy. Everybody sees that the American exceptionalism is white supremacy racism clothed in sheep's clothing. But you're
Mm.
actually a wolf all over the earth, devouring resources, devouring people, devouring wealth. When you stop and you look at 1% of the wealth controls the planet Earth, and
Mm.
6 of them people are here in America or wherever. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
how can we say, man, let's just sit down, black people,
Mhm.
sisters, black women in
Mhm.
Chicago, black women in Chicago, y'all shut it down. Y'all can
Mhm.
shut it down.
Mhm.
Lori Lightfoot,
Mhm.
you the mayor, shut it
Mhm.
down.
Mhm.
Shut it down.
Mhm.
When are black people gonna be mature and say, think about this? We have black women mayors in how many major cities? Okay. Now, if our mindset is okay, we got to have economic change, economic
Mhm.
flip over. Okay. How many governments are doing business with black banks?
Mm.
How many municipalities are doing business with black banks? NBA, we're not playing no more until you start doing businesses with black banks
Mm.
all over the country, so that now our economics can revolve within our community. The NBA surely could take a percentage of the banking that they're doing and put it in black banks all in NBA cities where they are. Surely you could
Mhm.
do that. NFL, hockey, everybody, see, everybody has earned from the suffering of black people
Mm.
forever. So there are major corporations now who are still inheriting from our enslavement. So
Mhm.
don't come to me with some trinkets. And don't come to me with no apology. Don't come to me that HR 40 is a report on reparations. What do I
Mhm.
need to report? How long are you gonna report? Who do we need to report to? I thought we did that when you told us we are gonna get 40 acres of a mule. I thought that was the
Mhm.
report. Where's the
Mhm.
report? You know, the Kerner Commission did their report. Everybody do these reports. Oh, the nation is one, there's two nations within a nation,
Mhm.
separate and unequal. Come on, we know that. We've been living under a quarantine
Mhm.
since we've been here.
Mhm.
The
Mm.
quarantine of educational pursuits, the quarantine of educational our history, the quarantine of the history of African people can't be taught in America until 1930.
Mhm.
You feel me? That you couldn't read and write. We won't allow it. We were quarantined from a book. For how long, white people? Look at
Mhm.
that quarantine. Let somebody go to, let us go to your country and start digging up graves, and then we call it Italology, like Egyptology. You come to Egypt and you desecrate our burial sites in the name of science. And you cool with that. Harvard, Yale's, Oxford's, historical universities that have set up a game where you and I can't do anything but fail. And then we look at our young boys in Chicago, in Compton, in Newark, and we say, man, look at them. But you didn't kill the daddies. You didn't incarcerated the daddies. You unemployed the daddies. And then you want to go do that in the Winnetka. Let me go gank you like that in Winnetka, in Northbrook, in Hollywood, in Beverly Hills, Bel Air. Come on. And then you want a result that is totally unreasonable by your own standards. But your standards don't apply to us. You will never look at yourself under the microscope you look at me under. It won't happen.
Wow. I'm sitting here, man, and I'm just like, I can listen to you talk for days. And by the way, I just nominate you to be my mentor.
Oh, brother. You mine. Because see, and that's the beautiful part of brotherhood, man, is that, you know, we started Long Beach State, that give me to the brothers so we can sharpen one another.
Yes, iron sharpens iron.
You know what I mean? Because we ain't never the sharpest one in our group, brother, or we in the wrong group. And that's
right.
one of the things that the young brothers got to realize is that you got to, you know, it's on the edge of your comfort zone is what the reality of your new existence relies, man. And you can't, you ain't gonna be comfortable in this thing going. That's the cool part, like Che Rivera said, man, if we had everything that we needed for the revolution, it wouldn't be the revolution.
Boom.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's one of them things we gotta roll with what we got, and what we got is each other.
Yes, sir.
You got something that I ain't got, brother. So man, it's back and forth, and that's how we have to start to do it, because CNN, NBC, MSNBC, they ain't gonna give you what you giving the people, man. And that's why I'm doing as many of these with brothers all over the country and across the world on the podcast level, because that's where it's at, man. It's grassroots. It's about people who realize it's about people. And that's the part where the corporate world, you know, when I stopped and I looked at The Last Dance, man, I
want to hear about that. Your thoughts on that.
I felt bad for how you just gonna come at my people sideways, man. Like we have no critical thought process at all. That we not gonna see through this. We're not gonna see through the fact of how much money you're making during a pandemic. And then we got to see the connection that, okay, Black people are dying at an astronomical rate. How do we get them not to think about that? How do we get them not to think about where did this shit come from? Where did it actually come from? Who invented it? What laboratory did it come out? Where did it come from? All I'm hearing is all of these reports, China and America throwing it back and forth. But my family is catching the hell from it. And ain't nobody, where's the Congressional Black Caucus? Where we at? Where we at on this thing, man? Where we at saying, hold on, whoa, hold up. And then I'm saying, my brother, if they put you out here during this time, you have to see your power. You got to see your power. But you see your power from economics. Because Republicans buy gym shoes too. You follow me? But you throw my brother Scottie Pippen under the bus. When it had gotten out of people's consciousness and they accepted Scottie Pippen for being the top 50 player, world champion, all NBA player, people remember that. But now you're gonna bring back the fact that he didn't get up for the Tony Kukoc shot. He wasn't even on a damn team, dude. Why is that in the documentary? Why is it in the documentary? Because you want to show Scottie is a selfish individual. That was your mode, that Scottie is selfish. But how take the whole group that played with you the entirety of your career, that passed you the ball, that set picks for you, that covered your back when you went for steals that weren't there, were they selfish then? Were they selfish when they feed you? Union made 2 in a row and they feeding you, But when they make 2 in a row, you go on your one-on-one mode.
Mm.
Nobody's saying nothing about it. Everybody's like, oh yeah, man, UMJ, we good to see. We happy as hell to see a brother get busy like that. Because how many brothers have been able to be elevated like that? Brother, we want you to be elevated as your brother. Now, are you gonna reach back, or are you gonna come back with a Ferrari and say y'all can't do this? And then I can say, oh, y'all can't get like this. Why? Where did that mentality come? That comes from a corporate capitalist mentality that was fostered in you, that was fostered into you when David Falk went into the laboratory and said, we're gonna market you as an individual. Thus, I want to be like Mike campaign. Which is one of the most devastating things for basketball, because it made everybody want to go get 30 instead of playing. It's a 5-man game. Go swim, go run track, go do something by yourself then. You know? So this whole Last Dance thing was about Michael Jordan and him being player and coach, because he was the motivating factor later for Phil Jackson and the 100 years of service that his staff has. How dare you? Yeah. Oh, Michael was the motivator. Man, please. You wasn't in there privately. See, that stuff that y'all saying is the public persona.
Okay.
He wasn't, the bug didn't stop with Michael in practice. It didn't. It stopped with Phil Jackson. You feel me? And if we was doing defensive drills, it was Johnny Bott. If we was offense, it was Tex Winter. It wasn't Michael Jordan telling them what we gonna do. So get over that, people. Get over and Bill Cartwright said it best. He said it has great entertainment value. One man's perspective, and that man has the ability to say how it's gonna be. And that's what it is. Ken Burns, one of the top documentarians on the planet for PBS, said he wouldn't do it. They wanted him to do it. He's like, I'm not going to do it because MJ should not have editorial control over this documentary because it's not a documentary then. And it wasn't. This is he might as well, man, this is what I feel how I would look. This is autobiography, whatever.
Man, thank you so much for sharing these insights with us, because a lot of young men, they don't understand the backstories of things. And I think they have been misled, miseducated, as you mentioned, in terms of like their pursuit. They don't enjoy the process anymore. Everybody want everything like right now.
And then you stop and you look at the game. The way that the NBA has shaped the game, they shaped the game almost into video game style. You know what I'm saying? You run in the lane, ain't no, we dribble around, shoot a three. Oh, if it go in, cool. If it don't go in, at least we got one up that might have went in. And the only other thing we're gonna do, if we don't have a dunk, it has to be a three, because we need the ooh effect. What about all of the, you think about somebody like a Jerry West, who was a, mid-range shooter before. Look at the game. Think about this. What would happen to the NBA if you took the three-point line out the game and went back to the original game? What would happen to Steph Curry? You feel me? You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Now it goes back to a position game, where now it's a positionless game, all based on analytics. So you have 7-foot cats that could dominate under the basket. They're running the lane and they're stopping at the three-point line. They're setting a pick and they're popping back to a three-pointer. That was unheard of. I couldn't see a Bill Cartwright setting me a pick and then popping back for a three. Will Perdue, Luke Longley. Right. You know what I'm saying? It don't even work like that. So now when I look at the game, it's been, and so once again, the analytics is part of the supremacy, the white supremacy, because it gives people like them jobs. You are not an analytical person. Analytic guys don't look like us. The analytic guys look like someone who owns the team, who may be a partner of the team's owner. That son is a techie guy that we're going to bring this techie guy in to tell us we could do more of this, and more of this will bring about more of this. Okay. So how many teams are really in competition to win when you stop and look at, when I'm looking at your roster and I'm watching what you're going out there trying to get to a championship and you're doing, ain't no way. Because the stuff that you do is not going to work during the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Houston.
Mm-hmm.
James Harden, I love you as a brother. You'll never win a championship playing the way you play.
Yeah.
You can't dribble the whole time, man. You ain't gonna be able to do that in the playoffs, brother. And
Yeah.
you got to move that ball. You got to move people, and that's why the triangle was so cold and won so many championships. And why ain't nobody running it? You know why ain't nobody running it? Because Craig Hodges is the only person other than Phil Jackson, and Phil is done. He don't want to do it no more. Phil don't know it like Craig knows it. Tex taught me this for 4 years, man.
Wow.
I got a degree in that system. You feel me? So when Michael talking all that jive, and I'm like, okay, who taught y'all the system? Me and Tex. So when Phil got the job, after we finished our defensive drills, the first day of practice, he said, we're doing the triangle under Tex. And Tex said, come on, Craig. And
wow, because you already knew it because you had been under it.
He and I walked to half court, and they were standing on the baseline. And he and I went to the guard spots, which is at half court, and he was a lead guard, and I was a second guard. And we walked them through each part of the system.
So you were walking through Michael Jordan's part.
Thank you. You know, and showing them within the system, once we got into it, where you can get off at, the cuts that you can make, the nuances to it, the reads of it. I knew all of that. I had 4 years of it. We had 4 years of it to where that's why the system is so cold, is that Phil Jackson has won all those championships with only a third of the system. That's how cold it is. Because you don't play against a full court press in the NBA. You do in college. So it's a full court part to it. You know what I'm saying? That people ain't even seen. So
that's deep.
That's what I tell people. If you're an up-and-coming coach, holler at me, man, because this is the best system you could ever have as a coach, because once you get it, man, it's the best thing going. You can be able to use, if you have great players or if you have players who aren't as good, you're going to be able to get some things accomplished because everybody touches the ball, which enhances your defensive mindset on the other end. Because if I touch it, I will give up my body on the other end because I know I'm going to get some shots.
So is that what you're doing these days? Are you kind of reaching out to teams and coaches and players and working with them?
I'm just talking to young folks, man, that want the game, and I see that they're serious about it. You know, I don't want to get with somebody that's trying to go out here and think that they all that. I want to get with people who realize the process, who understand this process, and that you only have so many games in your body, and you don't want to burn up 150 games in an AAU setting. That, you know, and that's what I tell parents is that, once again, if I played 10 years in the league, we played 82 games a year at least. You know what I'm saying? So that's how, you know what I'm saying? So you got a lot of games that you playing, man. So do you want them to be early in your life or do you want them to be later? I would rather for you to have as many games after 24 than more games when you're 16, 17 and you thinking you all that. No, you should be working on your skills. So a lot of times with this AAU job, young brothers need to be working on their skills and they're working on trying to win and get a ranking and all of this where, you know, all that ranking garbage, once again, that's the analytics, that's white guys. You know what I'm saying? Who are putting themselves in positions to exploit young black talent again. So, you know, man, it's young brothers and sisters, y'all got talent. Utilize your talent. Don't let your talent. Don't let the system or the game dictate your life, but you dictate it and you control it. And that, you know, the game is a game is a game. It's a game. You know, and I tell people, I'm silly because I play for a living, but I'm critical. I'm serious about my folks, but I'm silly about it because I play games and I'm still in that competitive mindset. So you have to have a certain creativity and imagination that goes along with being childlike. And I think there's nothing wrong with it, but you just have to know where it fits within the context of your life.
Absolutely. So I got one last question, then I'll let you do the closing remarks. So I've asked every guest to, if they had a gigantic billboard where millions or billions of people would see it, what words would you put on your billboard?
Unity of purpose.
And can you say that one more time?
Unity of purpose.
Unity of purpose.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's what we had during the 60s, man. And I was blessed to see it. I was blessed to see that their unity of purpose was to make sure that all of those freedoms, all of the justice that we see, we get. And that we're not just on the sideline watching other people receive the same measure of justice, the same measure of economic opportunity. And I recall when I was a young boy and going to the department store, Kresge's department store in downtown Chicago Heights, and I couldn't sit down and eat at the lunch counter, and wondering why the little white kids could and I couldn't. And Mom was able to explain it to me, but I think back of what type of impact that would have on a child. You know what I'm saying? And on the mass of children, when that's something that we experienced, and that's what we fought against, that we would be able. And see, I think in terms of what we really fought for was economic liberation, justice, and the like. And what we really wound up doing in the integration mode was buying into a concept that was just going to keep you oppressed for a little longer. And that little longer is over now. So all that's over, and now it's a matter of how you and I are going to support sisterhood, because it's the redemption of Black women that is what's happening right now on the planet. And it's the return of the African to her righteous throne. And we have to support that as brotherhood and know that that was part and parcel of why we misstepped ancient times, and why now we're at that point of recovery, is because she was able to stand strong during our time when we couldn't. And now she's in a position of power. We can see that throughout the country and throughout the world, where women are seizing control of governmental positions, municipalities and the like. And it's for us to make sure that we carry the message that they organize us under, because they are organizers. If you go back to when we grew up, Granny was Granny handled things, you know what I'm saying? And when Granddad came in the crib, he knew what time it was. But hey, when we went outside, it was about Pops. But in the crib, it was about
That's
Granny.
right.
And we understand that, and we can't fight against that. We have to make sure that we are secure in that mindset, and secure sisters for the next generation, man, in order that we can see the future that we know is potential and we're capable of building. And that's the beauty and the joy that I feel. I see us, and I feel it being like us was getting ready to win our first championship, man. It was a palpable feeling, but we knew we still had to go do the work, but we knew we were going to win. And that's what I feel like right now when I see the deaths of the unwarranted death. It's wicked, man, and it can't last forever. And now it's our time. So we just have to make sure we define it in a positive manner, and make sure that our young folks understand that they're the driving force behind it, because they have the energy. In South Africa wouldn't have got free without the students, brother.
And so any last words you want to give for a young man who's at a crucible in his life in terms of making a decision on if he want to continue to live or if he want to go to the streets and die? What would you tell him?
The biggest thing is I was just talking to a sister earlier this morning about the importance of young brothers being able to just ask for help. Being able to know that if I ask you, brother, I need some help, I'm not asking you from a sense of, man, Hodge, weak as water, that he need to ask for help. No, I'm asking for help because I see that at this point in time, I need help in getting this task accomplished, and I can't do it by myself. So I'm got to find somebody that I know is able to befriend me for a certain period of time, or help me, or be a mentor, or something. That it can't be a thing where, one of the things, man, I want to tell young brothers too, is when you drop your head, all your thoughts stop.
Wow.
All your thoughts stop. All your thoughts stop. So when we say keep your heads up or heads up, it's something in there. And that oftentimes just holding your head up and look up to the sky and say, thank you. You'd be surprised what that does for you opening up the next movement in your life. So don't cut yourself off from the negativity around you. Know that everything that's going on is a lesson for you to be stronger in your next step. Don't succumb to it, man. And you got brothers like yourself, brothers and sisters. I'm sure they can vibe and hit you with questions on there. And like I said, brother, I'm a resource, man.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
utilize me, man. You know, you got my son's info.
Yes, sir.
Anything we can do on this end, you know, time willing and you know, Lord willing, we get it done, brother. I'm with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
That's what it is, man. At this point in time, it ain't no other mission, man.
Thank you for listening to the Born to Win podcast. Would you consider making a donation to Champs? We are looking to provide senior class care packages and other essential items like food, hygiene, and toiletries for the families of our Champs mentees. You can donate via Cash App at $Champs Mentoring or PayPal at paypal.me/Champs Mentoring. Or you can always visit our webpage, champsmentoring.com, and click on the donate button. Thank you.